Hi, this is Patsy with a Z. Welcome to Joy on Paper Live, a program for writers and those who dream of writing, and for everyone who wants to know the story behind the book. And boy, oh boy, do I have a story behind this book today. And my guest is Ricardo Jimenez. And I am so happy to welcome him to the program because I have a bit of experience in the kind of thing he is going to be talking about today. And it is a crash course. Yes, we're going to have a crash course right here on Joy on Paper Live. And here it is. There it is, Crash Course. And that's the name of his book. And we're going to be talking about that book. And first, we'll talk a little bit about Ricardo because you had a fascinating backstory. And as I said, here's the book. It's really interesting. And let's talk about, I guess we'll start before we get to the advice part because you have a lot of advice. And I have the four main questions that I'm going to ask you. But let's hear about how you started a company and how it didn't work, because that's basically the idea behind this book.
Thank you, Patsy, for having me in your show. So, the idea about starting the company, I was working in corporate America and had a friend from Spain. We both wanted to go on the startup adventure. We started exchanging ideas, and we thought that toys in the shape of countries made a lot of sense because we were passionate about the world. We thought it could scale a lot, and we thought it was something that we could start on the side. And yeah, without giving too much too soon, as you said, yeah, we gave everything that we had, but things did not turn out as we hoped
So
they will.
the idea was toys shaped like countries,
Yes. So they
which
would be, uh huh.
which I
So we
love
started with,
because
uh
that was
huh,
my favorite subject in when I was
yeah.
in school, geography. I love geography, and as a matter of fact, very I was very lucky. I had a teacher who actually had us draw maps, which was the best
Mm-hmm.
way to learn about countries. She would make us actually draw the map. And once you draw a map of a country, you remember the country. So I think this is a brilliant idea. I think your idea is brilliant. And
Okay.
maybe if I would have come along and I would have been I would have been I don't know, I would have invested in it because I love the idea.
Thanks. Our next step. So now that you talk about drawing maps, we thought that the world was ready for the evolution of that. And what we wanted kids was to have a friend from a different country. So our toys were the world friends. We had a passport. So you would put your sticker on your Plush Kiss passport. Plush Kiss was the name of the company. And that would be let's call it your collection of friends from all over the world. And so, yeah, the idea was to awaken curiosity in kids about the world we were hoping through a more modern way. And then we also developed an app, and the idea was to connect kids from over the world. That was the goal.
It sounds great. It really does. It's clever.
That's
It
what I
sounds
thought.
good. but so let's step back a little bit. So you went to university, and what did you study at university? What was your,
So I did my three first years of undergrad in Spain and the last one in London. And then I did an MBA in the US at Duke.
at Duke? So you went to
Uh-huh.
Duke, and so all the time you were taking business classes. That's
Yes. Hmm.
okay. So you were learning about business. Now, this is very funny. I've had lots of companies, and I've been in business one way or another since I was 7 years old.
Oh, wow.
I opened my first bakery when I was about 8.5 years old. So I've done a lot of, I've gone through a
Oh,
lot of this. So I never went to university to learn about business. It doesn't matter. I landed up probably the same way as you did, but just
yeah, for me, maybe for I guess we went very different paths because I went to university, then I did this MBA until I went to Duke and I was 20. I had never heard the word entrepreneur. So it's very different. The education that I got certainly did not prepare me. I guess on my undergrad certainly did not do very much for me
to get you ready
to
for
to,
this.
to for sure. I
But
didn't.
you were in corporate America, so you had lots of experience in corporate America.
So after After I graduated, I went to work for Dell in Austin for a few years. And while I was working for them, I was laid off. I had started this company on the side. I was hoping to have more progress before going full time. But then I realized that I didn't have the heart to continue looking for other job. And sometimes things don't need to be perfect or as you would want them in order to be good enough to give them a chance. And I thought it was the right time for me to go all in with this.
There is a lot to be said. Corporate America, it can run you down because either you live within their parameters, you have to do it the way they want you to do it. And it doesn't leave for a lot of innovation, individual innovation. You can innovate as a group, but as a separate individual. So sometimes it feels great to be the one doing it. You are doing it. You are the boss. You are everything, right?
Yes. So yes and no. Yes. Sometimes it's felt absolutely great to be in control of your life. You feel like you get to choose what you're going to be working on. You can make decisions in 2 minutes, 20 minutes, as opposed to 2 months. You can decide how you organize your day. It gives you a lot of freedom. And that was especially the feeling at the beginning. But then when the rubber, say, hits the road and you don't make the progress that you were expecting, then it's then sometimes it's not as much fun as fun anymore.
That's true. It's true. And of course, it's not so much the rubber, it's the money. It's when the money runs out. That's the deal. So you have in your book, you have some guidelines. I love the some of the things that you write. It's very nicely written, and
Thank you.
I like the part where you say there is nothing more enjoyable about growing a company than creating a product and getting it out the door to buyers. It's all about the sheer satisfaction of seeing my stuff outside in the real world. Now,
Yeah.
that is from your book, and that is true. It is so exciting that moment when you create something. But what do you have to do?
Yeah,
What's
it
about?
gives me. Yeah, I'll share my thoughts now. It gives me the chills a little bit because this YouTube, this podcast, your episodes exist in the world because you are doing them. Uh, you didn't. I'm assuming um, you did not. No, nobody gave you the job description. Nobody told you what to do. You wanted to do this, and this is what you're doing. And thanks to that, the world is able to enjoy it. If it wasn't because of you, this wouldn't exist. And that's something that I didn't pay much attention to until I saw my toys in the world. Because I would say most of my work or all my work it would be very hard to match my contribution to the work, and I would feel that most of my work would just be, or would mostly be, PowerPoint presentation and Excel spreadsheets that lived in my computer, and it was very hard to connect the outer world with my personal contribution. But when you're starting a company, they're pretty much the same. So if something exists out there, it's because you made it.
Exactly. And it is wonderful when you are in control and when you've created something, you really feel good. And your idea, I when you went into it, had you already made so much money in the corporate world that you were really ready to do invest and use your own money?
I'm not sure that it was so
Sorry,
much money.
I'm
It was enough. It was enough, I thought, to keep me a year, or I don't know, maybe let's say a year or two, and then we'll start making money with the company, and that will be what will sustain us for the longer growth. But that didn't happen. So I have made a little bit of money that I thought was going to be enough for the beginning, but then we were going to need more money, or like I said, or revenues, which is the ideal way to grow, and we did not have that.
So you
So
had
yeah,
a,
that's
the one thing, like, this is something I can more or less control, and it's not a product. It's not a physical product. Physical products, when you develop physical products, product development is really challenging. So you had to develop, did you make a prototype of what you wanted? And How did that go about? Who designed it? What did you do? How did you get the prototype? You finally got a finished product, right, to sell.
Yes, me and a friend came up with this idea, toys in the shape of countries. Of course, none of us are designers. We had no idea how to go about that. We were always very linear. We always tried to go and meet the next step. Then we had to find a designer. I asked around friends, and I was recommended one guy. I'll say his name, Bruce Lee. I think he was fantastic. He helped us a lot, not only at the beginning but also all the way through. So yeah, we got the designs, the different iterations, and then my partner at Juan was in China at the time, and he went to many factories in China, and it was very challenging because you would ask to get a design, and then we very often would get a prototype that looked nothing like what we had requested. So it took a lot of effort, lots of iterations, lots of supervision, and at the end we were very satisfied with the final product. And then the next step for us was distribution. We had a warehouse near London, another one near LA, and we shipped our toys to both of them. The idea would be to be closer to the end customer. So we arranged these logistics for, say, a small medium company, but then we hadn't sold a product. And then when it was time to sell, we weren't able to sell. So that's a little bit of the story.
Okay, I know the feeling. Let's step back a minute.
Okay.
Before you designed the product, while you still had the idea in your head, did you do great? Did you do everything properly legally? Did you have the right contracts with the people you were working with? Did you make sure that you had every trademark in place? Did you have all of that?
I'm not sure that. So did we? So with the people that we worked, yes, I would think we had everything in place, but yes, we couldn't. We were a startup. My priority was always to move very fast.
Yes.
That was my priority. I didn't have the resources or the time for patents. So we trademarked the name of the company and the logo, I believe, in maybe the US, China, and Europe, but it was a trademark, but no patents. Yeah. No, no, yeah. The way that I speak about this in my book, sometimes at some points it troubled me a little bit because I thought we weren't protected. But then a friend, I thought he was very insightful when he told me that if someone is copying you, it's because that means that you're already successful. And I thought, okay, that makes sense to me. Let's worry about that when that happens.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I felt that I had,
that's not a good idea. Let's put it this way. At Duke, they should have told you that the first thing you should do is make sure you get a patent and make sure you have the best contracts before you even talk to anybody, because I don't know if you ever landed up in a lawsuit, but half the time lawsuits, people will come out of the woodwork claiming that they came out with the design or something. So yeah,
ideally I guess I would have had that, but I thought we already have, we were nothing, right? So
yeah,
we had to be, I feel that when you're very early, you need to be more offensive than defensive, and we just need to put all our resources to make progress. And that's how I felt. Of course, you want to do things in a more, let's call it, in a more holistic way, but when your resources are very limited, it's not like you can do everything you want. So I thought that we're gonna just try to move forward as much as we can. That's how I took it.
that's how
What do
you
you
took
think?
it. Okay, I think you learned some lessons along the way.
Yes.
Yes, one of them, of course, this is one of the things that you talk about, is learn the most valuable information first. So what was that information that you should have known?
I guess there's two kinds of information. One will be more, let's say, the technical start company information. There's lots of books that talk about that, but I will share one quick one, which is that we could have de-risked more the process. This is a term that I am now learning from the book Originals by Adam Grant. Sometimes it's better to spend more time at the beginning to take off risk, and that's something that I did not do. So in other words, to make sure there was product market fit before going all in with the idea. So that's one lesson. But where I think the book is different from others is that the focus is not in the company, in the startup. It's on the person trying to build the startup. I did not succeed at building the company, but I do know what the founder can go through in the attempt. So some of the lessons there are to pay attention to what the founder is feeling, because there's lots of frustration, there is a lot of confusion, and very often we don't make progress, not because of a lack of determination, but because of a lack of clarity. And so it's very important that to check with yourself to see what state you're in, because otherwise you may get stuck in a loop.
Now, when you start, and of course it's your money, you now are dependent on making money because you're using your money. This is a big problem when you're starting off because just the mental strain of worrying about where the money is going to come from is difficult for it and somebody starting the company.
Yes, that's one of the key concerns that a CEO founder needs to make sure that the company is going to be able to continue running, to pay the light, to have the lights on, for sure. And yeah, I was projecting revenues, and the revenues did not come, so that was always a challenge. Until the point that what's the balance between you want to give your company one more chance, two more chances, three more chances. So I ended up getting a loan. But what's the balance between doing that and at the same time not continue sinking your money into something that doesn't make sense anymore? So that's something that you need to be mindful of as well.
And it's, of course, at that point when first it's your money and
Mm-hmm.
then it's, I don't know, you get investors' money and then
So I,
you get
uh-huh.
loans. And it builds up.
Yes, I tried to get investors very hard. I was very new in the game. I guess there was something about the company that wasn't uh, attractive, but yeah, so I tried. But I had many conversations, but I did not raise any money. So yes, I had to get a loan to continue with the company.
Did you do a private placement? Did you try to do a private placement to get investors?
What do you mean?
I mean, did you put out a document asking for investors, a physical document?
I had lots of conversations. I had an investors decks, the business plan, and I had lots of conversations. I don't know. I didn't have a because I didn't get so far in the conversations as to put the final documents together.
Part of I used to love that part of developing the business plan and developing. I loved doing projections. Projections are so much fun when you do them on paper, aren't they?
I was doing them on an Excel spreadsheet, but it was you can write anything on an Excel spreadsheet. You can estimate, let's say we're going to sell 10 toys per day, but instead of saying 10, you decide to put 20, and then suddenly you're doubling your revenues. But who
Yeah,
knows if it? But
that's
who
what
knows
I
if it's going to be 10? It's going to be 10 or 20, right? So I think they are a good mental exercise. It forces you to think things. But what happened with us is that I was estimating revenues, and the revenues were not coming. So I had to be updating that document all the time.
I know. I know. I spent a lot of time on Excel spreadsheets. The problem is it was always nice to estimate sales, but then it was always the part where you discovered that the costs were so much more than you expected.
Yes, for me that happened. And again, I started this company with, let's say, with a big hope, big dream, big idea, but knowing very little about how things actually work. So yes, we could sell our toys on the website directly, but if we sold through our retail, so our retail would get, let's say, 50%. And if we also had a distributor, then our, let's say, our revenue, our margins per toy were so much smaller than I would have anticipated, maybe a quarter. So yes, I that's something that I realized, that I couldn't believe that they were going to be so small, like way into the game.
So what was your first order? So you ordered toys from China. That's where
Yes.
finally that's where you got them,
Huh?
because that's probably the best. You'll get the best price. So, what was your first order? How many did you order?
Our first and only order, we did. So we tried hard to negotiate the quantities, but it was very strange because three or four companies, they all insisted that the minimum order quantity per toy was 3,000 units, again, per toy. So we had four toys, so we ordered 12,000 units.
And did everything go right from that side? They did the job and they shipped properly on
Yeah,
time.
I'm not sure that I don't remember if they shipped on time. I'm sure there were delays. It took us a lot to get the final products, final prototypes as we wanted them to be. We wanted some patterns that we didn't have, so we had to get creative. We wanted the silk from Korea because we liked it more. So we tried to do the product as the best that we could. So it took us a long time to get the prototype, but I do think that the 12,000 units, yes, they looked like the prototypes that we
Did you
accept
go
that
to
we
China yourself, or did you go to
I,
China?
I I didn't, but my partner lived there at the time, so he visited all factories many times.
Okay, so over the internet, you looked at the product, you liked the product, and
And I got them shipped home, so I'm pretty sure that I got to see them in person many times from different samples from different factories. Yes, so I would say I like this from this factory. I like this other thing from this other factory. So yeah, we took a lot of time. We spent a lot of time in getting the product that we thought was the best.
but all this time you didn't have, other than the trademark, you didn't have any patent. So
No,
the Chinese could make
no,
a copy if they
they
wanted.
could. Yes, that's
Yeah.
they could do whatever if they
What?
wanted. Yes, that's what they could do. I
Okay.
figured, yeah, we that's part of the. I guess that's part of
The
the some
process.
of the risk. No, I'm not sure if it's the process, but yes, you need to. I think I thought the only way that we had to protect ourselves from that was to establish a really strong brand,
And
and that was my priority to have a brand that would inspire curiosity, worldliness, a desire for
definitely,
friendships. Yeah,
the
that's what I was saying.
branding
Yeah.
is essential. So
Mhm.
your product was shipped here to the States. Where did it go from there?
We had a warehouse near LA. Where did we go from there? So wherever we would have an order, we would ship from there. And I also lived in Austin at the time. So I sent, these are very specific questions. I sent myself maybe, I don't know, a thousand units or a few hundred units to my apartment in Austin. So they were both in Austin and in LA.
Now the products were for what age children? What was the age? What do you think that?
So for so they were up, let's say they were friendly for all ages, but I think to get the most out of the toy, I would think from 6 to 12,
6 to 12.
6 to 10.
That's a good
Yeah.
age for a toy. It's a good age, and
Yes.
there's a big market for it. So how did you market? Where did you get the orders from? How did you approach buyers?
So yeah, we did lots of things. We went to retail stores in Austin. We did online advertisement. We talked to big toy distributors. We went to toy shows. Yeah, we did a little bit of everything.
Oh, I love toy shows. I've been to a lot of toy shows. I was involved with confectionery, so I did a lot of confectionery shows, which are also fun. But you get a lot of connections there. So did you manage to get any really great
Yeah,
connections?
we thought we did. I thought was when we left both toy shows. So we went to the New York Toy Show, which was a lot of fun, and we went to the Nuremberg Toy Show or Toy Fair in Germany. We left, or I left, extremely excited about the connections that we had made. I really thought they were going to make a difference because they were distributors and they were very excited about the product. So yes, I thought we made great connections, that they were going to again make a difference. But then with the follow-up processes, slowly things started falling through the cracks.
So your sales
No,
didn't
it didn't
materialize.
materialize. It didn't. No, it was again that was disappointing. We had lots of disappointments, but we left the toy shows feeling that there was so much opportunity in all these different countries. We met toy manufacturers and distributors from other countries, and they requested us to make designs for our toys for their countries, and we did, and they were excited, and they wanted their kids to have our toys, but I guess life got in the way, or they had other priorities, or who knows what happened, but they did not materialize.
It didn't materialize. Okay, so now getting back to, so did you ever land up in any legal problems? So often it happens. Did
No,
you
but
get?
I'm curious to know if you've landed in any legal problems because we love this
Oh,
this topic.
oh, oh, yeah.
Yeah, you have. Let me hear about
Oh,
that.
oh, big time. Unfortunately, the group that stole my product was the government.
But maybe this is the time to hear that story.
No, I don't think so. You don't want me to have a nervous breakdown on on camera. No, you don't want me to go through that.
So,
But
how was the short version of that? What
no, that's
happened there?
all right. We'll have to do that another day. But we're trying to give people advice because this is,
Yes.
I mean, you learned a lot. You learned a
Yes.
lot from real life experiences. And I mean, I've often said this. Now, I've had many successful companies. So it's just a matter of sometimes hitting it right. Sometimes it's just the wrong time. It depends on what's going on in the world and what people are thinking, what people are willing to risk, because people who take on product are risking that they're going to sell it, and if they don't sell it, they've lost money.
Yes, and I will say that I found in Austin, I found a few retailers that took that risk, because I would go there to their store, I would speak to them, I developed the relationships, and they were very generous to have our products in their stores. However, they didn't move, and I tried to help them move them. Some were more open, but then what I realized is that it's first I thought that I had solved the problem just by having the toys in their stores, but then you need kids to choose them, and then I was told that kids mostly want something that either they see on TV or that they see other friends having.
Exactly.
Um, so
Advertising.
that was there. So we didn't have the budget for advertising. So I did workshops in schools, and I did a few of them. But again,
Well,
everything
no,
fell
that's,
short.
yeah. You needed television advertising. That would have been the key, but it is expensive, and you can't get that unless you have investors, and you don't get investors unless you have. So it's a vicious circle you go around, and you learn a lot. And now,
Mhm.
in today's world, it would be perhaps different because you can get a product launched on something like TikTok that you could not have gotten that kind of coverage. And today, if you hit a product right on TikTok, you can sell it. But it's a process. But still, you need smart advertising, and it's expensive. Dealing with advertising companies that make advertisements is very difficult because they have their own ideas of how to sell your product, and sometimes they don't want to listen to the creator. And I had one product, and they came with the advertisement for it, and in the advertisement, somebody killed themselves, hung themselves because they wanted my product and they couldn't get it. This is insane. And this was a major New York, Madison Avenue company came out with that ad. And I said to them, I'm not paying for that. That was insane. So,
What was the product? Was there a reason to be so extreme in the
no,
marketing?
there was no reason. Believe me, there was no reason. So it's strange. But so you didn't have that. You didn't have TikTok. Was Shark Tank? There wasn't Shark Tank at that time.
So no, there was Shark Tank, and I don't know how I was connected with them, and I tried a couple of times, and I got a call back from them, and I spoke to them, I think, for 5 minutes, and then when they asked me what my revenues were, I think
Uh,
that was the end of the conversation.
that's the bottom line. That's the bottom
Yes.
line. What are
And
you
it's funny because lots of times, very often people will tell me, oh, you need to be on Shark Tank or you need to be in this store. And I would think, yes, that makes sense. Let me try it. And then I would try and the store would not agree. And then I would try and Shark Tank would not agree. So
so
yeah, that's the kind of rejection that I was getting all
so
the time, every day.
you faced rejection. Okay, instead of starting another one, you have to, I don't know. Here I have one of the messages that I think comes through is to trust yourself. What does that mean when somebody is coming out to and they have a product and they want to start a company, what would you tell them? What about trusting themselves? Do they have to believe in themselves?
They have to, yes, they have to believe in themselves because they are the ones that are gonna have to do it. So there's lots of levels of trust, but the first one, when you're starting, and pretty much all you have is yourself. If you don't have, let's say, money or technology, again, all you have is yourself. So you need to have the trust that you're going to be able to figure out everything that you need to move forward and to make the company that you hope for. And then it's trust. Every day is trust. So that will be the trust to get started. But then as you get started, you start facing rejections. Maybe you started a strategy that doesn't work, and you still need to have trust to make decisions of, do I recommit to the strategy or maybe I need to pivot? Again, it's a continuous test in which you need to continue choosing yourself and trusting in yourself and in what you're doing. Otherwise, it's really hard. And you also need to be careful with, I'm not sure if it's with trust, but sometimes we bet so much on what we're doing because we identify with our product and we unconsciously end up believing that unless our product works or our company is a success, so unless it's a success, we are not a success. Oh, no, hold on. How do we say that? So unless they're a success, so we need a company to be a success for us to be a success. And that can make you, that can actually cause a lack of trust in whatever makes sense because you end up sinking costs, sinking your time and energy into something that you don't believe in anymore, but you don't trust yourself enough to let go and move on to the next stage of life or your next company or your next project. So it takes, I think you need trust all along the way of the process to start in the middle of it and to say, I need to trust that this is not working, so I need to trust in the next thing. So I think trust, it's fundamental every step of the way.
But you mentioned learn to let go. At some point, after you had done all of this, you had tried all of these different avenues to success, and you hit roadblocks. At one point, you had to let go. And that's always a terrible time where you have to make the reckoning of how much money you put in, how, and especially if you have bank
Yeah,
loans, that is a terrible moment in your life.
yeah, yeah, correct. That's why we often talk about sunk costs, right? Because we need to be able to make fresh decisions. And when I started this company, I fell in love with the idea, and I would think, this idea is a good idea, and even if I have to spend my whole life to make it happen, that's what I'm going to do. But then 6 years later, I realized that the market didn't seem to be giving very good feedback, and I had a cost of opportunity. That was very liberating for me to realize that there were other things that I could be doing. That helped me a lot in letting go, because if it hadn't been because of that permission slip, it would have been much harder. But to realize that we are so much more than our companies, we can be doing other things, and we don't need to live a life of struggle working on something that it's not that, I know, it's not that critical. It's not the end of the world. I think it's very liberating.
But it's been a learning experience. You've learned a lot from it.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully, you, after it all winds down and you take a deep breath and maybe a big drink, like a
Yeah.
couple bottles of wine, might do it.
Yeah. Let's do it. Yeah. 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 I finished it a while ago, but I may still have to take those couple of glasses of wine.
But it's been a learning experience, and so then you decided to write. I hope that you got bounced back on your feet and you're doing well now.
Yes,
Yes.
I'm doing well. I don't know if it's a question. Yeah, I'm doing well.
Uh,
I'm doing very well. Life is great. Yes, I'm doing well. So yeah, I'm not sure how much you want me to get into, but the part of trust goes again to see yourself more than your company. Then, so towards the end of or maybe in the middle of the company, I ran into a friend, well, to a friend now, into a guy that told me about Bitcoin at the time, and it made a lot of sense to me. So part of my loan went for that. And in making bets that, how to say it, that that have the right ratio of risk reward. And I think that's what entrepreneurship is. So yes, we make lots of risky bets. Very often they won't work out, but if they do, because we are betting on something that no one else is betting, then that's how you get the reward. And then I made other bets that ended up working out. But it's because I have the appetite for this, I guess, these bets of strong risk but with strong reward.
You took a risk to start a business, and now you're taking risks with Bitcoin and all of that. But I think that's probably a good decision. I have a feeling the Bitcoin part has worked out for you.
Yes,
You're,
it has, and
you're
thanks to that,
smiling.
maybe.
You're smiling. I
Yeah,
can see it.
yes, I'm smiling.
Because Bitcoin has a way of doubling and doubling, and yeah, that it has a lot going for it, and so I'm glad that you have discovered that, and
Yeah.
probably
Mhm.
maybe now you are will invest in people who come to you with ideas.
Yeah, that's what I do. I'm an angel investor. I am learning that I may not be the best person to evaluate ideas, but I'm also learning as I go. Because now, with when you're an entrepreneur, you're putting all your eggs in one basket. When you're an investor, let's say you have lots of different baskets, and you don't worry too much about one. Let's say your risk is diversified. But what I'm learning is that very often I, companies or ideas fail for things that I didn't even anticipate. There's a lot of learning to be done as an investor as well.
And I hope that you've had fun writing this book, and
Mhm.
it's fascinating. It's called Crash Course, and it is a founder's journey to saving your startup and sanity. And I think you've saved your sanity. So you've enjoyed the writing process.
Yes, I like the creative processes. That's what I've learned. I like to create. For me, it's harder to sell. But yes, there was a story to share. I've seen lots of founders that have all these books and all this education about companies, but they don't take care of the most important piece, which is themselves, the person building the company. And when I was writing this book, I was doing it for someone that will be exactly like me. And there's lots of entrepreneurs that have already read the book that see it as a companion. So that's very gratifying for me.
I think you did a great job with the book, and I'm
Thank
so
you.
happy to help you promote it.
Thank you
And
so much, Patsy.
you have a website, I think, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah. There we go.
I wanted to put it up because you have at the end you have the H at the end of your
Uh
name.
huh.
So I wanted to
Hmm.
make sure people saw that. Okay. So what can they find out at your website? What else?
A little bit about me, about the book. There's lots of great endorsements that the book has gotten. Some of them are there from other, mostly they're coming from other entrepreneurs and investors, and a little bit about my bio, things that I like to do, and other things that I do.
Yeah, we didn't get into all of that. You have an interesting background, an interesting life, and it looks I like the way you're smiling. It means that you weren't devastated and you came out of it okay,
Yeah, or
because
maybe
it
I
is.
was, but sometimes we get devastated. But it's not the. Sometimes when we are in the middle of, let's say, a project or anything, I like the metaphor of we end up living life as if it was the last penalty of the World Cup final. So much stress, so much pressure, but then with time and perspective, maybe it wasn't the end of the world, and maybe with a little bit of openness, life is going to take us into really wonderful directions.
And you can become a great author. So that's another thing that can happen to you. Again, thank you so much, Ricardo Jimenez. And this is his website. You can go there and find out more. Get the book. If you're thinking about starting a company, get this book, and it might put things in perspective, right, Ricardo?
Yes, it's going to be your companion book. That's what I like to see. That's going to be your companion book.
Okay. Thank you so much. It's such a joy to talk to you.
Thanks so much, Patsy.
Okay. Bye bye now. Bye.
Bye.
Well, that was so much fun to talk to Ricardo. He's so, I think he's so delightful. And I was so happy to see him smiling at the end because, yeah, I think he did the right thing. And he's now in Bitcoin, which is probably a good place for him. And but the book is fun. I love it. It's called Crash Course: A Founder's Journey to Saving Your your startup insanity. And you definitely, for anyone who wants to do business, this is a great book. For anyone who's been in business, it's a great reminder to, well, the troubles that we all face when we do start up a business. And it's just a fun book. So do get it. And he wanted to get children together around the world, which was a great idea. And things happen. There's a time and place for everything, and unfortunately, that product didn't work out. But now I think he's going to be a Bitcoin investor, and he'll maybe come across another company that can do something like that to help children. Anyway, it was lots of fun to talk to him. And so please, so that I can bring you more fun interviews, and this was really fun. I really enjoyed talking to Ricardo. So please subscribe and help me. Here at the Joy on Paper Live, I need subscribers so that I can bring you more interviews with more interesting people and just have a lot of fun talking to authors and helping to promote their books. So all you have to do is subscribe. And if you have a book that changed your life, I'd love to hear about it. If you have a book that you want me to read, well, I'd like to hear about that. And if you just have an author that you would like me to invite, I'd love to hear about that. So please make a comment and just keep watching, because I've got so many wonderful, wonderful interviews coming up, and all of the interviews that I've already conducted. I just started this. I'm really new at this, but I've done some really great interviews, and I think you will find them inspirational. So if you are one of those dreamers that I talk about at the beginning of the program, somebody who wants to write a book, listen to these interviews, because I think you'll find them encouraging. I know people are buying and spending money for a lot of master classes with authors and with people who are in the business, but there's no charge here. You don't have to pay anything. These are all free, and you're getting the advice really directly from the authors, uncensored and unscripted, because they talk about their love for writing. They talk about the joy that they have in writing, and they talk about why you should read their books and find that same joy. So please subscribe and comment, like, and share, and come back soon, because I'm going to have another great interview coming up. And I will tell you, I am having, oh, this is not fun. I'm I'm a very cheerful person. It is very interesting. I hope